the dead are unconscious. In the world of, when we're talking about the legal body corporate person, that's the dead body. That's the only legal person known to the law, is the body corporate or dead body. So when we're looking at the world of legal, we're looking at the dead, we're not looking at the living. But they can't run, a legal system can't operate with someone not breathing life. They have to have something breathe life into their body because it's a dead body. That's how it operates. It carries on the idea of the dead. So the dead just perpetually continue on in there. That's why when you operate a corporation, the corporation never dies in theory. It just keeps on going on and on and on and being transferred to the next holder. And therefore you'll be breathing life into it if it's been passed on to you. So that's really how the last name operates. It's just a dead body corporate trade name or brand name that has no life or existence in it until your given name breathes life into it and starts to speak through it, because it is dead without you. So the dead are unconscious. Now we're going to go to Matthew 22 verse 32. Good scripture to give you an understanding how God looks at you regarding this dead body corporate world of existence that is run by fiction and that of Satan and a lie. 22 verse 32 states, I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. So, God is the God that we're supposed to be beside, the true God. He has nothing to do with mammon. It says you cannot serve God and mammon. So he's not the God of mammon. Okay, he's not the God mammon. When spiritual people get mixed up and confused into both sides, that's where the issue begins, and that's why they issue the birth certificate, because there's an issue going on that you're going to play both sides, and therefore you're going to sue for a title that's not yours, that's a lie, and God is not the father of the lie. Satan is the father of the lie. So all these imagination certificates, they come from the imaginations of the world under the damnation of Adam, the first sinner. We basically, or the father of what brought about sin and death, because he was responsible for Eve and what she did. He didn't correct her, so he committed mutiny on the earth ship with the first mate, instead of correcting her and going before, his maker and stating what had happened. So he walked right in and did the very same thing that he knew was wrong under willful sin. So we're basically under a system that's operating under a damnation of many nations. They're all damnations that are imaginations in the fiction of Satan, who induced the first lie. So we've got an unconscious world, because the dead are unconscious. They have no conscience. They don't think. They don't have any moral thought. They just chase something with greed, and that's how you run a world that's not under covenant with God. They're basically under contract law. So it's always got the last thing that's said is greed. And you slap hands with the other party, and greed is going on in there because someone needs a contract in order to get the benefit or the advantage in the contract. There'd be no point of a contract if there wasn't going to be an advantage going one way or the other. So we have to see that the scriptures are telling us that the world you're living in, which is secular, temporal, has no spiritual thought to the future of their spiritual existence. They're not taking into account that the debt was wiped out, Colossians 2:13-15, certificate of debt canceled. So they're going to carry around a certificate of debt and act as a surety for it. This is a very simple system. So the system that operates the money knows that you're going to sign for it. You're going to take your picture for it. You're giving your consent to take over a debt that's not yours. You're guarantoring that debt of a stranger, as it was spoken of in Proverbs, that he who is surety for a stranger will surely smart for it. And another or a stranger are synonymous in its translation. So you're acting for a foreign debt that's not yours, because a lie is not in the world of truth with God. So the legal registration system is only dealing with the dead, not the living. and therefore it requires your breath of life to breathe into its dead body concept in order to make the misconception of birth operate with some form of conception. So we're going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. And the scripture is actually 5. I didn't put it on there, but it's Ecclesiastes 9, verse 5. It says, "For the living know they will die, but the dead do not know anything, nor have they any longer a reward, for the memory is forgotten." Now we could take that in a literal sense, we could take that in a figurative, because the world that does not follow the truth of God is dead, because it's dead in sin. It's in the damnation and the penalty that went to not only just Adam, but also to the serpent, Satan, who fathered the lie. So anything to do with the legal system of his kingdoms that were offered to Jesus in the desert when he was trying to be tempted, where he's being tempted by Satan, he offered him, he says, just do one act of worship to me, and then we're gonna rule this world together. And he told him to get away from him. He was a worker of lawlessness, and therefore he passed the test that Adam had failed on. So he became the last Adam. So we've got a situation here where these imagination worlds are designed for those that are under sin, under debt, under guilt. And therefore it needs debtors, and it needs people that are willing to try to earn their salvation. So the concept is absolutely unnatural to what God would have intended for mankind, because he never had any intention of debt. This is something that has been manufactured through fiction, and it needs people in a collective to follow this. So it's not about being lazy, it's not about not working, but the working in the concept in a membership that basically places you as a debtor should definitely be waking you up. And should be causing you to reach with spiritual eyes to see, taking the veil off, so that you're not asleep as the rest of the world is, because they're in a REM sleep, because they don't see the judgment in REM, that the state has control over what is theirs, which represents commerce and money, which is operating these brand trade names for what is their legal birth baby, not the natural child that was born. And so therefore, when we research Scripture, we'll see the evidence that there's so much code going on in here, from Genesis to Revelation, to wake you up to the truth. But as long as you're got your head down these legal websites that are leading you down some legal journey that's not going to bring you salvation, because it's not letting you see with spiritual eyes, because these people aren't spiritual. You know who these gurus are that are on the net, and they're crazy, and they're being interviewed all over the place as if they're going to bring some kind of salvation, hiding out in various places because they don't know what they're doing. So basically they've come to dead ends because they're trying to thwart a legal system that will never be thwarted without someone being spiritual. And so we have to do our reading. You have to do your due diligence, but it doesn't make sense to be looking into the legal sandbox and not seeing how the legal rules work, avoiding that completely, and then ending up in trouble, and then claiming, "Oh, I'm being basically abused by it." Well, you signed on to it, and so therefore you're going to be held under the legal contract that the state is involved in also, and you're going to pay your common share if you're in that. If you're going to be spiritual, you have to forsake that side. And that means you can't be attached in any way with any personal or private interest in the public title anymore. Because otherwise, you're in a bad situation of peculation and theft. You're robbing the public body, corporate, and you're taking its flow and you're putting it into private bank accounts, which is not going to work. And you will be penalized for that action. And that's why they're going to make you disgorge it all up. It's called disgorgement. You're going to be vomiting it right back up to the state, and you're going to be in a situation that is not going to be very pleasing for you when you wake up to the reality that's coming. So I hope that this video has brought us more enlightenment on the subject, and take the time, research the scriptures. There's so many scriptures that are going to help you. That's just a couple that we put out here today, and I hope that you will actually go to the book and read.